There's something of a crisis going on at Tottenham. Mauricio Pochettino's Super Spurs are not as super as they once were. The wheels are falling off right now, as this generation of Tottenham players flatly deceive. Recruitment is a big talking point at Spurs right now, so we're going to look back at every player they've signed since Pochettino became manager and give them a rating out of 10. MICHEL VORM 6.5 out of 10. Tottenham kicked off the Pochettino era by paying £3.5 million for Michel Vorm, the Dutch goalkeeper who had been solid in between the sticks for Swansea. Vorm would play backup to Lloris, a role he did brilliantly, usually solid if unspectacular when he came into the side. He left this summer but is now back after Lloris's nasty injury against Brighton. Ben Davies 7 out of 10. On the same day, Tottenham brought in another player from Swansea, Welsh left back Ben Davies, with Gylfi Sigurdsson going the other way as part of the deal. Davies was brought in as competition for Danny Rose, and he's been exactly that, chopping and churning with the England international, both bringing different skills to the table. Davies is better defensively but not as good going forward, which is probably why Pochettino has rotated so much. Eric Dier 7.5 out of 10. Pochettino's third signing was a real bargain, bringing in an Englishman from Portugal for just £4 million. Dier immediately made an impression at Spurs, scoring on his debut against West Ham. But it's his versatility that has slightly hindered him. We've seen him at right back, centre back and centre mid, but he's never really had a permanent home. It initially looked like Dier was only going to get better and better, but things have somewhat stalled in the past couple of years, with Dier no longer a guaranteed starter at Spurs. DeAndre Yedlin 4 out of 10. DeAndre Yedlin played just one game for Tottenham, so it's a bit of an odd rating to be honest with you. The American arrived from Seattle Sounders for £2.5 million and actually lost his only game in a Spurs shirt. He had a fruitful spell on loan at Sunderland, then the season after he stayed in the North East by joining Newcastle for £5 million, meaning Spurs had somehow managed to double their money on him. FEDERICO FAZIO 1.5 out of 10. An £8 million signing, FEDERICO FAZIO gave everyone who watched him a crash course on how not to defend at a professional level, getting sent off in his debut then doing the same just months later in the Europa League. The Argentinian was a disaster, eventually leaving in 2016 to join Roma for a fraction of the price he first cost. Benjamin Stambouli 2.5 out of 10. The French midfielder spent just one season at Spurs, showing how little impact he had during Pochettino's first season with the club. Stambouli played 25 times in all competitions but rarely impressed, and 12 months on he was sold for PSG for a little bit more than he first cost. Dele Alli 9 out of 10. When you look at bargains, this is probably Pochettino's greatest. In January 2015, Spurs signed Dele Alli from MK Dons for £5 million, immediately loaning back to the League One side. But when he did arrive at Spurs, Alli proved he quickly had the quality to be a Premier League player. We've seen some sublime things from Alli, scoring at a rate that no midfielder should, netting 18 times in his second season. He's going through a bit of a rough patch now, and hopefully he can recover, as Dele Alli is a sensational footballer who surely has a bright future ahead of him. Kevin Wimmer 4 out of 10. This one's a hard one to grade, because he was pretty awful when he played in a Spurs shirt, including an own goal against Arsenal, but the club did somehow manage to make a huge profit on him when Stoke bought the Austrian for £18 million, which I have to take into consideration. He did more than bad than good in a Spurs shirt, and they probably couldn't believe their luck when Stoke came calling with a massive wad of cash. Kieran Trippier 8.5 out of 10. An England hero after that goal in the summer, I'll mention it at any chance I get. Spurs probably rue letting Trippier go this summer. He came in as a cheap backup for Kyle Walker, then easily replaced him when he went to Man City. Trippier's delivery from out wide is top class, which is something Spurs are missing right now. For £3.5 million, Spurs got every penny out of Trippier and more. Toby Alderweireld 9.5 out of 10. While his Tottenham future is unclear, Toby Alderweireld is certainly one of the best defenders in the Premier League, an elite level defender who didn't really cost Spurs that much from Atletico Madrid in the summer of 2015. He cost £11.5 million after impressing on loan at Southampton the year prior, and he quickly built up a partnership with his countryman Jan Vertonghen. He's also brilliant on the ball, with his long pass often a secret weapon of Pochettino. Clinton Ng 1 out of 10. A player with incredible speed, that was the only thing that Clinton Ng had going for him. He cost just over £8 million, but never came close to being a proper Harry Kane backup. The Cameroonian made just 14 appearances and never scored, leaving on loan the year after before leaving permanently in 2017. Son Heung-min 9.5 out of 10. To think Son Heung-min nearly left Spurs after a tough first year in the Premier League. But instead he stayed to fight for his place, and what a decision it was. Son has hit double figures in his last 3 Premier League campaigns, relieving the pressure when Harry Kane was injured and proving that he could be Pochettino's main man as well. Son cost £22 million but would probably go for 4 times as much now, but who knows where he'd be if he'd left in 2016. Either way, he'd definitely be as happy. There's nothing that can get that man down. Victor Wanyama, 5.5 out of 10. The Kenyan's first season as a Spurs player was excellent, but sadly that was probably as good as it got. Wanyama's had injury bothers since 2017 and he's never really got back to his best since then, other than that stunning goal against Liverpool. Spaghetti enthusiast Wanyama nearly left this summer for Club Brugge, which probably tells you all you need to know. Vincent Janssen, 1 out of 10. After scoring 27 league goals for Alkmaar, Spurs probably thought spending £17 million on Vincent Janssen was a masterstroke. Finally they had a player who would be the competition for Harry Kane. But that's not how it happened at all. The Dutch striker was woeful in a Spurs shirt, managing just 2 Premier League goals. He spent most of his time either falling over or sending the ball further away from goal, which isn't quite what you want from a £17 million striker. He's finally gone, now playing in Mexico for Monterrey. George Kevin NKOUDOU, 1.5 out of 10. The French winger arrived from Marseille in 2016, but both he and Pochettino probably wished he hadn't bothered. NKOUDOU never settled, struggling to impress Poch and get a run in the team. He had a loan spell at Burnley where he was also a backup, then last season played once for Spurs, providing a valuable assist and a last gasp win away to Fulham. For that assist will boost NKOUDOU from a 1 to a 1.5. Moussa Sissoko, 7.5 out of 10. When Tottenham spent £30 million on Moussa Sissoko, everyone laughed, and rightly so. The Frenchman had just played a toothless part in Newcastle's relegation at the Championship, looking anything but a £30 million player. He struggled initially, but Sissoko was surprisingly gone on to be a key player for Pochettino, providing energy in the middle of the park that is often missing. Technically he's not good enough for Spurs, but he makes up for it with his work rate and power. It's been quite the turnaround for the big man, and it kinda makes me feel a little bit sick. Davinson Sanchez, 7 out of 10. Spurs broke their transfer record when they signed Davinson Sanchez for £42 million, and it's hard to assess his time at Tottenham. At times the Colombian has been brilliant, showing why he cost so much money from Ajax, but other times he's not been able to match the high standards of Vertonghen and ALDERWEIRELD. Still young, Sanchez is the future of Spurs' defence, but needs to add a bit more consistency to his game to be recognised as one of the best. Paulo GAZZANIGA, 6.5 out of 10. Another backup stopper signed by Pochettino, Paulo GAZZANIGA is finally getting his chance with Hugo Lloris's injury. And so far he's taking it, performing brilliant against Liverpool last week. The Argentinian has a great chance to prove he can be Tottenham's long-term number 1. Juan FOYTH, 6 out of 10. Another Argentinian player signed by Pochettino, the youngster is certainly one for the future, but has had a tough start life in England. He gave away 2 penalties on his Premier League debut against Wolves, which is about as bad as it gets. He also got a red card late last season for a horrid challenge at Bournemouth, which certainly didn't help his case. But at 21, the best is definitely yet to come from FOYTH. Serge Aurier, 1 out of 10. When Kyle Walker joined Manchester City, Spurs brought in Serge Aurier for extra depth at right back, costing £23 million from PSG. What a mistake that was. The Ivorian has been an absolute disaster, seemingly on a one-man mission to ruin anything nice Spurs have going. From cheap red cards to stupid penalties, Aurier will seemingly do anything to spoil Tottenham's fun. Is he an Arsenal player in disguise? I have my suspicions. Fernando Llorente, 4.5 out of 10. Poch took a different route in 2017 when he looked for a Harry Kane backup, signing a veteran striker who had been there and done it at the top. Did Llorente do the business? Kind of, but he wasn't the most fruitful in front of goal. The Spaniard scored 13 goals in a Tottenham shirt, with only 2 of them coming in the Premier League, suggesting he wasn't the man to back up Kane either. Lucas Moura, 8.5 out of 10. 5 months after Serge Aurier, Tottenham signed another player from PSG, bringing in Brazilian forward Lucas Moura. After a slow start, Lucas burst into life last season, scoring 10 Premier League goals, but it was the Champions League where he had the biggest impact. Lucas scored a stunning hat-trick in Amsterdam to guide Tottenham to the Champions League final, with his last gasp goal swaying the tie. Jack Clarke, 6 out of 10. It's hard to judge Jack Clarke as he's gone straight back on loan to Leeds and he's barely playing there. He's got a lot of potential, but we just haven't seen enough of the winger to give him a true assessment. Tanguy Ndombele, 8 out of 10. Tottenham's new record signing, Daniel Levy, finally splashed some cash and spent more than £50 million on Tanguy Ndombele. And so far the Frenchman has looked worth it. He's had his own injury bother, but when he has played he's looked like a top bracket player, adding a bit extra craft to Tottenham's midfield that's been missing. When he fully gets up to speed, he could be Pochettino's X-Factor player. Giovanni Lo Celso, 7 out of 10. The Argentinian is on loan before a permanent move next summer, but injuries ruined his first few months as a Tottenham player. If he can play like he did for Real Betis, then Spurs already have their Eriksen replacement in case the Danish international leaves. But until then, I can't give him more than a 7. And finally, Ryan Sessegnon, 7 out of 10. The most recent signing in Tottenham's history, Ryan Sessegnon has yet to make his debut for Pochettino's side. But when that time comes, he'll surely end up being a first team regular, especially if he can re-find the form he showed at Fulham. And he's still only a teenager, so the world's at his feet, but can he achieve his seemingly limitless potential at Tottenham? So that's every Pochettino signing at Spurs rated out of 10. Let us know yours in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.